I'm going to do a quick tutorial on how to prepare an image for etching on a mug. This is very similar if you also want to etch onto a wooden cutting board or cut out an ornament. It really all is just down to the color, and I will show that through this tutorial. First, you need to size your canvas towards what you're working on. So when we're thinking about a mug, particularly we etch the Arctic mugs, think of the mug as laying sideways. So this is the length, so about 5 inches of principal space typically on, say, a pint type mug, and then about 3 inches this direction, which would be the across on the mug. So just imagine the mug is laying down, and that's the space you have to etch in. You want to adjust your canvas based on what you are working with. The first step is to import an image that you're going to use for your design. Many times we are hired or asked to do custom designs for the school. And so I have a Mill Creek logo right here. You can see it is absolutely huge. So the first step is to resize it. Well, I know it has to be less than 5 inches. Oh, but I almost made a very common mistake. See how this is not locked? I don't want to change the size unless I am locking the dimensions, or else I'm going to skew the image. And then here is where I'm going to place items. So I'm just going to put it in the corner for now. And I can drag it. So that's probably a good size. It's a little big. See, even though I did the lengthwise, this is too tall, so I'm going to shrink it a little more. Now it fits. But remember, I told you our mug is sideways. So something to keep in mind is when you're etching anything that goes on the rotary, you have to rotate it. And now you notice I still don't fit. So I'm going to make sure that this dimension is less than. And now this will fit on my mug. So that's kind of the first step, making sure your image is the right size. The next step is to convert our image to a bitmap. So you select your image, choose convert to bitmap. We usually just these standard settings, 300 DPI, RGB color, okay. And then the next step is to go back to bitmap and do outline trace. For this, we'll say detailed logo. There's a bunch of different settings. We usually do not mess with the settings very much. If I do, it's this detail one, just because sometimes you can get sharper corners. But generally, it does such a great job. All I do is say, okay. And you're like, well, I don't see it. You'll notice now if you select on it and move, see how this now has the lines of your design, and that's what we want. We actually do not want the original image, so we're going to get rid of that. Bring this back. For the next step, you need to get rid of all this color like the image because we just want the lines. So over here is our color palette. If you left click on the one that's kind of like X out, meaning nothing, you notice everything goes away. If you left click on black, notice how it fills everything. I'm going to go back and get rid of it. If you right click, notice how we just have our outlines. The default is 0.5. When we're etching, we really want to etch as a hairline. If we don't, it can become very challenging. So you could go ahead and etch this. It would just do all of these lines just like this. But you noticed our logo was colored, so we might not want to etch it that way. We might actually want to fill in some of these. So we are going to ungroup so we can select individual things. So now, if I select just the inner M, I am going to left click and make that filled in. I'm going to select essentially the inner MC and fill that in. So now, when it etches, it basically shadows that part and makes it have a different look than all the lines. You could also look to doing the outer rim. And it's really up to you and your client. I like doing every other. I think it looks clean. It really helps you see the logo. But always make sure you send a proof to your client to make sure they agree with your design. I think that looks pretty good. When you're ready, you just save this file, and now it is ready to etch. This will just etch. It will not cut anything out because we designed it for an Arctic mug. The difference, if we were actually cutting out something like an ornament, is we would want to make sure our outline that is where you would want it to cut it out is a different color, and we tend to use red for that. So you can see it did the whole thing, which is not what we would want. Or if you're doing an ornament, you could actually, like what we commonly do, we will make a circle for our ornament. And we will make that a hairline. We make that red. And so now this would cut the circle out with the MC etched if you were doing something on wood. But again, for this purpose, this is the etching we would want for our Arctic mug. We would save our file, make sure it has a name that we can find. When you're ready to print to the laser, you will use the print. You will choose your laser engraver. For us at Epic, it is the Spirit LS. You'll choose the settings. You must be connected to choose settings. That will be in a different video.